Hey everyone, I'm Chris Lesniak,
And I'm Rob Byer, and this is
the Debate Math Podcast.
debating mathy topics and mathy pedagogy with mathy people just like you.
Let's get into this month's debate. All right, we're going to model another example of a debate where the debaters are preparing both sides ahead of time.
Our question is, should subtraction be taught as takeaway or distance? The coin flip is going to be for Zach. Heads is takeaway, tails is distance. Flipping the coin, and it is tails, distance. Zach is arguing distance. Mike will argue takeaway. Zach, you are first. The floor is yours.
All right, Mike. Here's why subtraction should be taught as distance. When we think about subtraction, particularly when kids get into the middle grades, it's more helpful to think about how far two numbers are apart from each other, because when we start subtracting integers, you can't physically take away a negative amount, right? There's no sort of removal in that situation. I would rather think about it as how far is it from, say, -3 to 7. That's an easier way to think about subtracting those two numbers. So I'm arguing that we should start and teach subtraction as distance because it will serve them better later on, and it won't be a rule that will expire.
All right, and here arguing the opposing side of that is Mike. The floor is yours.
All right, Zach. So my argument is or my claim rather, is that subtraction should be taught as takeaway. And my warrant is that when young kids are just beginning to understand operations, everything is about action, right? And so the action of removal, that's something that's familiar with kids. They know a context. I had some cookies, I ate some, there's some gone, there's some remaining. It reinforces the part-whole relationship and the relationship between addition and subtraction. And so the removal piece, I think, is easier for students to understand on a conceptual level, so they can understand the operation and the action of removal at the early ages. And as they understand that and understand the ways the numbers are working and they build their number sense, later on they can be introduced to distance, which is a little bit more developmentally appropriate for them. So that's my reason for subtraction as takeaway.
Well, thank you to Zach and Mike for that. And now it's time for listeners to pause and ponder. What did you notice?
What do you wonder?
Well, that was our second example of a point-counterpoint debate. Rob, what do you think of it? What are your takeaways?
Throughout this series, we've tried to model that starting whenever you have a routine, you want to start with something that's a little silly, so that way we get the routine down. And then the next episode, if you noticed, each time we were like, okay, now we're going to dive into content. We're going to dive into something that's more mathy and have deeper reasoning. And so that's important to do in your class as well. So you want to start with something that's a little silly, and that silliness that may take a few times until you get the routine down. But then eventually you're going to get into things like fractions and like what's the best way to add fractions with manipulatives, and having students actually have those debates, or even what's the best way to solve a systems of equations problem in the high school level. So that was my biggest takeaway, was how we were able to model that throughout the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, we're thankful to Zach and Mike for all these great examples. And we have one more for you next episode where we're going to put everything together into a deep, deep debate discussion. Want to learn more about incorporating debate activities into your math classroom? Go to luzniak.com/podcast to sign up for my mailing list and get your first set of example debate activities you could use with your students today. Go to luzniak.com/podcast.
Don't forget to reach out to us with comments and questions on DebateMath.com, or follow us on Twitter @DebateMathPod, and follow along with #DebateMathPod.
Rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts,
or wherever you listen to this podcast. Your feedback is super important to us.
Well, that's all from us.
Looking forward to debating with you more next episode. Until next time, cheers.